Never expected to be here. I'm just amazed at the people that are gathered here. You guys are amazing. The fact that you've kind of hung in here all day with us, this is incredible. The last segment here, I hopefully is coming around to that first question was asked. What's your takeaway? And we're going to invite you to kind of take a moment to think about that, with your takeaway from today. But before we do that, we have a couple more stories. So I want to tell you a little bit about City Serve. I grew up in the East Bay out in the Concord area. There was another family, and they had three really ugly boys, but one really good-looking girl, and I ended up marrying her. But all three of the boys grew up, and I didn't know them till I was done with high school as I was doing college work. But their story has kind of resonated with a number of people. So their dad was a pastor. He was building a little community church out there, and he was on his way to church, and he was killed by a drunk driver who came off an on-ramp and struck him. And the mom was in the car, so she took about a year to get back on her feet. But in that moment, the kids were being pulled around because there was no foster care organization at the time. They were talking about breaking the family up, sending 4 kids out to other place. And my wife, being the only girl, was instantly separated, and she didn't understand what was going on. She was 4 years old, right? And so being separated, moved around, and the oldest one was 12. Well, long story short, the kids would wake up, and on the front porch would be boxes of food. On the front porch, they had food for the day. And there was a church that said, you will not go hungry. I know you don't have parents. Their house wasn't all the way finished building, so they lived in a trailer park for a year with a family. They just said, no, all 4 kids come here. We already have 2 kids. It was a 2-bedroom trailer park. And then the hospital bed came in with their mom. And all of them lived in that space for a year, but it was the only place. And one of the churches finished off the house, and they were able to move into it, but she still didn't have a job. So part of it was she kind of got healthy enough to get the job. And in that interim period of time, there was always food dropped off at the front. And the boys always remembered that. When they went to school, they started on the side. Like our first dates were driving to a pastor or a church or somebody that a church knew of that needed food. And we always had, I would show up and they go, hey, can you mind driving to Stockton? There's this guy, here's the address. And we drive. I'm like, well, if she can go with me, I'm good. So our first dates were just dropping off boxes, and it turned into a kind of a family thing where it pretty soon wasn't just a, kind of a volunteer thing we did on the weekends. It became a full-time job for 2 of the boys. And then all 3 of the boys kind of got involved. And they have an organization called Convoy of Hope, if you ever heard about that. But that was the first piece. And the oldest brother runs that. And the youngest brother had this heart that says, what we need to do is get small. We need to work in distributed models. We need to empower churches, and we need to be completely invisible. The reason why you'll never see City Serve in any kind of public place is because we don't exist. We only exist in the hands of the churches that do the work. So whenever you do the work of all the people that are doing here, you're doing City Serve. We only use City Serve when we have multiple churches and we neutralize all the brands. So we'll go in and work with cities to go and fix that, so make sure there's not one big church and one small church. Everybody just can serve the city, and it becomes a verb. And it's a brilliant model, and it's turned out that it's really helped us respond to food distribution issues across the United States. Right now, we're still delivering food into Ukraine. We don't do it through any kind of international program. We just find local churches or volunteer groups. We'll buy the trucks, the food, and the gas, and they supply the volunteers, and we just coordinate the information. So we want to do that in the Bay Area. So this is amazing. You guys are incredibly gifted. There's many people that are doing great things in the city. What we want to do is tell your story. We want to tell your story. Right now, we're across 14 states. We're working in 22 countries. What we'd like to do is tell your story so that every city hears that story, that understands what's really working and how we can work better together. And we'd like to take some of the stories from other cities and bring them here and learn from them as well. So we're all about empowering, and part of that is getting that story up and shared. And again, Yaniv's organization with GeoBrowser has really allowed us to tell some of those stories. How many of you guys have contributed articles? I pressure my friends to write articles, have contributed to the GeoBrowser. Nice. And some of you guys owe me some stories. But we tell stories up on Geo. We hope you read about yours. If you want your organization on the GeoBrowser, which is the Web3 environment, I will write up your organization really, really bad with the intent of you making it really, really good. So, so I won't do your work for you, but I want all the stories up there. We want to inspire people on how do we break up homelessness? How do we take a holistic approach to doing this? And how do we work together? So that being said, I'll tell you a little bit about the City Serve that it's only about 4 years old. We're still brand new. We're still kind of learning who we are. But, I can tell you that today we're running a retreat or just a time away for some of the members of Congress in the Museum of the Bible. Just a time to reflect and talk about the things that could get better in this upcoming year. And it's attended by both sides. So it's really a kind of a nice thing. I just take care of Northern California. I'm not involved with any of the really big stuff. I just take care of the problematic things here. So hopefully we can get those stories out there. So a little bit about City Serve. We're very church oriented. So while some of you guys here aren't church oriented, I hope you can hear our hearts. We're not doing good because we're trying to make people like me. We're trying to have people become the best they can be. And you know what makes us different as people of faith? We're never done. I don't care if you're going through a program. Just because of your program, man, now you're family. You never leave my family, right? You're in, you stay in. And that's kind of not just an option. That's who we are, right? So if you struggle with Christianity and being involved, just realize that we never give up. We just keep going with people, and they always have a place, good or bad. We always make room to bring people home. And that's kind of what we want the church to do. We've been struggling with COVID, and we've been kind of like so focused on just getting back together again. A lot of the churches haven't remembered how to get back out to their communities. So we're working with our churches and our nonprofits, and we really want them to work together. We want churches that are filled with potential volunteers to find their way out into the streets, to find the places where good things are happening, and to be a part of that. So our job is to go in and find ways to compel the gathered church members and folks that go to synagogue or other events to be part of the community conversation and to jump in. For so long, we've outsourced a lot of the great work. We paid professionals to be caseworkers, to be mental health individuals. Back in the day, they were just our neighbors that needed help. We never left our neighbors. We embraced them. We took on their story. We took on their challenges. As much as they were a pain, they were my neighbors, and they're my neighbors. I hang with them, right? They're mine. And I think part of that is the very core of what the church is about is they're our neighbors, they're our family, they're extended members of our friends, and we can't let go of them. They just, you can't change everything, but you can fix one, right? You can take on an individual story and you can drive that all the way through. And that's what we do. So we do have a program that people associate with us. We have warehouses, we get a bunch of returns, but we create this program where if you want to get out into your community, we're going to give you an excuse to meet every member of your community, knock on doors, give stuff away. So while we get donated items, we work with churches to get in your hands to give you an excuse to engage with people. And that's our distribution model. So we have that working in 14 states. We don't really have it working in Northern California until a week ago, where one of the people you'll meet in a minute here, a church went out and funded a warehouse. They staffed it, they got it all going, and they're like, let's go Northern California. Let's start caring for our neighbors. Let's find excuses to get out there and meet people and just bless their lives and just be a part of their lives and see if there's any little things we can do to make it just a bit better. So this is our goal, is just to connect the church communities with both their communities and the leaders to see what kind of impact we can have, give people help and hope. We do it in 3 ways, right? So one thing is we have a supply chain resources where we are constantly getting semis full of stuff. And I mean, when I say stuff, we have no idea. They call these things gaylords. They're boxes that are 8 foot tall. They're wrapped in cardboard. We have no idea what's inside. So then we start to cut through them, and everybody tries to figure out what's this related to. So we have things by women, by men, by household goods, by children, and we sort them, and we organize them in such a way that we can target churches that are taking care of that demographic, and we can distribute that out there. And it's worked really well. Down in Southern California, there's a series of 8 warehouses that kind of cover from Bakersfield to Mexico. And those warehouses take care of 40, 50, 100 churches in their area so that people can take it and they run out there. Now, it's not a community service thing where you just give stuff away, but every time you meet with someone, you got to be willing to walk with them for a year. If they're interested in a relationship, you got to hold on and walk with them. You got to just be committed to the individual. It's not about how much stuff you can give away. It's how much depth the individual's up to. So What makes this a little different is we make the intentionality of what you're doing be a little bit more real. The other thing we do is we have like this holistic approach to caretaking. And you'll see in a few minutes what those initiatives are, but it's a holistic approach of how communities should be measured on how well they take care of their neighbors. And it's what we're going to come back to long term. And the last thing is a collaborative network. We believe that the ability to fix a community sits in groups like this. That you guys are doing amazing things. In Milpitas, there's some amazing models that are breaking. We want to fix the Bay Area. We also want to fix Sacramento. Right, Kathy? Yes. We got to fix Sacramento. That's a mess. What about Humboldt? What about Chico? All these little towns that they're outside of our reach, but CityServe can get out there. We can take your stories. We can give you a platform where you can make ideas and allow people to give them models to make changes in all the little, and adapt to what you're doing as well. So we have a whole concept of being out there and trying to work with those communities. Our holistic approach talks about biblical themes that you can find in scriptures, right? And in our historical biblical background. But we believe that holistically, we need to kind of address this stuff. And when we start talking about who are the broken, where are the things we need to fix, this is who we're talking about. People of focus, behaviors that destroy lives, things that are out beyond people's controls. We just need to get involved out there and kind of like get involved and help wherever the help is needed. Now, we do this because not every church can do everything, but every community and every group of churches should be addressing a holistic approach. We think that over the course of a year, we can come back to this list and I can say, so when I dial up 211 in this area, who's going to cover the addicted? Do we have recovery? Who's going to be covering the orphan or the poor? And by orphan, it's at-risk kids that can't control their own environment. We got to kind of surround them. Who takes care of the sick, the injured, the people who are just down for a season and just need a helping hand to get through? So a lot of this is making people aware of the needs in your community. And what we want to do is kind of walk you through that whole process. So that being said, about a week ago, where's Shaun? So Shaun, we're going to have you kind of come up here if you don't mind. If I can grab one of the chairs. So Shaun has taken a pretty bold step with CityServe. We can't really do anything in any given area without a church that's willing to put their people, their time, their work together with us. And Shaun is the CityServe pastor that has gone out of his way. And tell us a little bit about your church. Let me actually see. I think we have a slide with you on there. Oh wait, there's a bunch of ugly guys in a warehouse. Oh, you missed that one. So I think most of those ugly guys are here. Okay. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about CityServe and kind of how you got involved about
Sure.
Fellowship Church. I'd love to hear that.
Well, my wife and I started Fellowship Church 21 years ago when I was 24 and half crazy. And we had 4 girls under the age of 2. If you could understand that, compute that. We had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and twins were 0. You've seen a double stroller. We had a triple stroller and one on a leash. So we started a church in the East Bay. I was born in the Philippines, moved to Ohio, and then was raised in East Oakland. And so my dad pastored in the heart of Oakland for several years, and then we planted in 2002. And so our church has been heavily into outreach. I was just raised doing that in West Oakland and all over the Bay, and so I've always had a heart for that. But it looks different, and I realized if you could just run to pain, you could help a lot of people. You don't always have to have the greatest strategy, but if you can see pain and run to it. So what we realized is our church was stuck for 7 years, did not grow at all. And then as a pastor, 7 years in, I'm like, hey guys, maybe we should start a prayer meeting. You know, I catch on really fast. Let's try prayer. So God gave us a strategy on how to build people. And pretty soon the church grew to several thousand people. So we are now resourced to be able to do more. And our heart has always been to reach the Bay Area because there's so much pain in the Bay Area. But I've realized something, that there's a couple steps in reaching people. Number one, you have to see the need, but that's not enough. You got to get a burden. And there's a couple guys in the Bible, since I'm a pastor, I'm a man of faith, and I glean a lot from the Word of God. And there's a guy named Jonah and a guy named Nehemiah, and they both were called to go do some good in the city. Both walked the city for 3 days. Both saw the need. Only one got a burden. And I realized something in that moment, that a burden without action is just sympathy, and sympathy never changed the world. So we all see a need. Needs are all around us, regardless of where you live in the Bay Area. But then we have to have a burden, and a burden's not even enough. You then have to have some type of partnership, collaboration, and that's where multiplication comes in. So our church has been very involved. We have seen so many lives changed. And the 2 words God gave us as a church a long time ago is hope and healing. Hope for tomorrow and healing from your yesterday. And He's graced us to be able to get in a position where we are out in the community, we're serving, and I don't have time to tell you all the areas that we're serving. You know, in this Saturday, we'll go and feed several thousand people by knocking on doors in the Bay Area of apartment complexes, and we'll give them frozen turkeys and mashed potatoes and stuffing and say, God loves you, no strings attached, and we're out of your hair. And we cannot tell you how many people have told us we would not have had Thanksgiving. One lady said, I was on the phone crying to my mom because we didn't have anything to eat, and then you knocked at the door. Like, it's just little moments like that. And we all wear red shirts, which I should have thought about that earlier on. You know, we have thousands of people that have red shirts going into communities. And yeah. So I wasn't raised around a lot of Crips and Bloods in East Oakland. It was just more sets, but so it didn't hit me. And then we rolled up on this one great guy. You could tell he was very fond of blue, and he opened the door and you should have seen his face. Like somebody's getting shot today, and then he sees a grandma and a baby. He's like, okay, this is either the most pathetic gang I've ever seen, or these people are not a gang. So we let him know. He's like, what are you doing? And we're like, we're just feeding your whole neighborhood. Can we pray for you? You should have seen this thug. It was like hardcore melt as we just loved on him. And here's what I realized. If you value everybody and add value, you can reach people's hearts. Just value everybody and add value. It's pretty simple. So there's that. Then there's, special needs Easter egg hunt that we'll do for Easter. And we take all the families in and the moms and dads who have never gotten a break in the last year. We take them to a side room and they get haircuts and manicures and head massages and food. And their kids are given a buddy for an hour, so that when can they just have an hour? And this, every Christmas we have thousands of gifts. We bring parents to our church lobby, and it's decorated like a mall, and they get to go shopping with some dignity, opposed to standing in a cold line just giving some random gift. They get to go shopping for 3 presents, and then our team wraps them, and as they go home, they realize somebody loved us this Christmas. So there's a lot of that going on. And then we were approached with the idea of a warehouse. So we started looking for a warehouse. And as you know, maybe you don't, but there's only 3% vacancy rate available in the Bay Area for warehouses, and even less for the size of warehouse that we were looking for. So we came around to this one warehouse. It's 11,000 square feet with an 8,000 square feet side yard. 2 minutes in, I walked in, I said, write the contract. We write the contract, we start receiving trucks, and now we have a full warehouse. We just had the first 5 people come get their pallets, and what they do is, our team, and you, if you want to, can come and help sort all the stuff. And then teams will come, and other churches will see needs in their city, and they'll come go shopping. They call, they say, we want this, 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 and this. And we give them a pallet. Each pallet's about $3,000 worth of stuff. They come pick it up in 15 minutes. They go back to their neighborhoods, and then we tell them, don't you dare say our name. We don't want any credit, and don't say Fellowship Church name. I just want you guys to be the hero for your community. So they go in and add value to people, and when you meet somebody's need, their hearts are open to transformation. So that's kind of where we are right now.
And CityServe has done about $1.3 billion in the last 4 years that way, just delivering gifts and resources out to people through the local church without any kind of branding other than whoever's carrying it carries the message. And that's what we want. Just want to be kind of supporting them and kind of driving that effort. So we've got one other pastor up here that, we're just a few months old up here in Northern California and only a few weeks old with the warehouse. But we have another pastor that is active in our area here. His name is Johnny. Johnny, you want to come up? So I know him as Johnny. Everyone else calls him John. Sorry. Johnny Huddle. So Johnny, you're kind of unique because you got this whole concept started years ago. So years ago, you were part of the largest nonprofit in North America that decided that distributing stuff's a really good idea. And you got that started and came to churches and kind of got City Surf started, right? Then you went on your own journey and said, I don't want to just organize this. I want to be in the game, right? And tell us a little bit about, kind of like what you left and then what you're currently doing now in Oakland.
Yeah. Brother, what's up? That button right there. Hi, I'm Johnny. Today's been amazing. Thank you, Ted, and everybody that's done everything to put on for real. Thank you. Thank you. I'm from South Los Angeles. That's when I was doing most of the work that Paul's talking about with World Vision. I launched just 1,000, literally 964 church distribution points during the Farmers to Families craziness during the almost a nightmare. That was a blessing in the midst of a nightmare. But got pitched in 2019 by a dear friend. Some of y'all know him, Albert Hung. He's a district superintendent for a Church of the Nazarene, Northern California, a phenomenal leader and a good friend. And he said, Johnny, would you plant a church in Oakland? And I said, man, I'm SoCal to the bone. Don't get mad at me, y'all. That's literally what I said to him. I said, I'm never leaving. And he said, okay, well, just pray about it. And if you don't have any vision, ... Oh, you got him? Oh, that'd be cool. He's telling me to click. Yeah, so I'll click. I got the best picture too, because it was taken by Eric's selfie camera 10 minutes ago. So I even got my name. I'm the only one in the picture with his name tag on, so I get points for that. But the next 2 weeks I didn't sleep. And I was rocked with vision that went back 10 years around this concept of icon in the Greek, or icon. I'm going to quote some Bible, so just duck if that's not your deal. But Colossians 1:15, he is the icon of the living God, the firstborn, all things created through him. But then in Romans 8:29, it says, those whom he foreknew, he predestined to become conformed to the icon or image of his only son. Idon means idol. Icon means image. And so my heart is that every single person I connect with, that I proclaim over them, that they are created in the image of God. Nothing's been lost. Nothing's gone. There's nothing you can do to erase that legacy. And so this whole word, Shaun, about pouring in worth and adding value, that's my heart too. And so out of that, that render to Caesar the things that's Caesar's, right? Everybody knows that one. So it's out of this one where Jesus says, show me the coin used for the poll tax. They brought him a denarius, and he said to them, whose icon? Whose icon and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. Then he said to them, then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And that's so powerful in the Bay, and especially in LA, where we have monetized everybody, and everybody is only what they earn. And that's not a cliche. That's our reality. We don't see icons of the living God. We see what they're not, what they could be, what they should be. I mean, that earlier miracle messages presentation, oh my gosh, that just gutted me, man, because that is the problem. And so that's where I think it'll pop up. So that's where we got the idea. And then the edgy E is so that people pronounce it icon. We just mispronounce it. But also it's our values, and we're all living in tension. So our values are Jesus, transformation. We want to be transformed people all the time, including me. I'm not a pastor standing in the sacred space, inviting people to come into my sacred space. I'm a person being transformed as well. Where do transformed people go? They go into places of tension, not into places of comfort. So we move into places of tension, and then what do we expect? Creation. Genesis 1:2. Let there be light. And that may not ever happen through me or through Icon or through, but that's what God does. He creates new things. And then what do creative people do? They push into diversity, justice, reconciliation, and shalom. And you can't have any of those things if you're not in tension, expecting the creative act to take place. And then finally, probably the toughest thing for our community, for me personally too, is remaining authentically a leader driven by hope. So I'm in encampments 4 days a week. Just loving guys, building bridges. That's not a boast. Now, God's called me to do that. I've been doing shared space discipleship and transitional housing out my home for 25 years. In LA, we saw 117 people get transitioned out of Westchester Park. That's the park you fly over when you land and exit LAX. And the lady that managed that park was promoted to be the manager of over 100 parks, not a believer. And she said to me, Johnny, it's not me, it's you. And I said, well, it's not me, it's PATH, people assisting the homeless. Because that whole vision, that last icon up there of collaboration regionally, that is what our heart is. That's what it's all about. So a quick picture, too many words. I know it's not as pretty as the other slides, but these are our five missional engagements. So when we came up, I told the district up here, we don't want to plant a church out of a church service. That's not our deal. We're going to plant the church out of the church doing service. And we had really done this. We had launched, not pie in the sky. We had launched mobilized movement networks in LA, across the West Coast. We had done it. And so we thought, man, what if we could do it in a city? And so Infinite Christmas was one of our visions. YES program, which is Youth Environmental Studies. It's an environmental health sciences program for kids living below the poverty line, specifically right now in District 7 and District 3 in Oakland. And then we've got church planning vision, an empowerment center vision around this thing called the Empower Worldview curriculum, which is World Vision's economic empowerment development curriculum used in 40 countries around the world that's getting piloted through us this month. And my knees are knocking as I share that. I share that with you to encourage, it's good, but man, nervous. If you're a praying person, you can pray for that. And then we've got a tiny home community in Hayward that we got plans done for. And so just one quick thing, and Paul, you can grab the microphone from me, but I do want to talk about the first thing, which is Infinite Christmas. Because God, I thought it would be the last thing we launched. And maybe somebody needs to hear this today. Infinite Christmas was too big, it was too complicated, and essentially it was this idea that every month there's an Advent and there's intentional generosity happening in dignifying ways and empowering ways, not on Instagram, not to blow up a brand, right? But this whole idea of we vanish and you become so empowering people where they are. And then on December 17th, we were like 6 months old of 2020, we got a call that there were trucks of home goods from a large warehouse retailer that had no place to go. Did I have, literally my friend said, did Johnny, you got an old like Church of the Nazarene rundown building you could just stick them in, right? And so that's the hub. So the hub was born on Gadding Road in Hayward on December 17th. We took our first loads on December 22nd, and then we did our first distribution on Christmas Eve, and then it was just talking to everybody in the neighborhood. Got covering from Bishop Macklin at Glad Tidings International Church of God in Christ. If you don't know Bishop, he's a visionary developmental leader, and everything that I do is submitted to him, and he has authority to speak into that. He knows I'm Church of the Nazarene, but he's my bishop. Okay, and now we're blessed to have 46. Love Never Fails is one of them. Youth Spirit Outworks is one of them. And we have 46 churches and nonprofits that serve as partners for us in the East Bay community. And so that opened the door up for a whole other levels of collaboration locally around our youth, but specifically around where we're at right now is there's a passage in Isaiah 41 that says, I'm making you into a new threshing sledge with double edges, and you will mow the mountains and you will turn them into chaff. They will become like dust and they'll be gone. It's such a powerful image. I want to mow down mountains, but what are the mountains, right? What are our enemies? Poverty is our enemies. Racial injustice is our enemies. Systemic brokenness is our enemies, right? All these things are our enemies, right? And so the threshing sledge is what God's building right now among all of our 46 partners in the East Bay. God willing, many of you, as we kind of come together and we begin to attack where we need to focus going into 2024. So thanks for letting me share, Paul. Appreciate it.
That's great. So we're coming full circle. You know, the first question is, what's our action? What are we going to do? What's the MOU we want to have? So I've got a questionnaire here. I'm hopefully pass this thing out. And basically, it's a summary of our topics today on the front side. Just take a second, you know, between now and our dinner time and our networking time. Just go through it and just circle the things that are highlighted that you recall, you kind of remember those. We can pass these things out. It would be great. So. And I apologize for the font size. So on the first questions, but on the back side, if you look at it, before you go flipping over to the back side is a commitment page. It's what is it you're going to walk away with? We heard some amazing suggestions, some ideas. Hopefully you got a chance to kind of meet and build relationships with everyone and maybe even network if you ran out of time. But if you have some people you wanted to meet, they're no longer here or you don't know where they are, we want to connect you. CityServe wants to be that portal that connects you between those places. If you want to be part of our network and part of our resources, if you're a church, this is what we want. This is our call to action. If you're with the city or with a business, we really want to see you include the churches in your planning for improving the city. It's a resource that has long been underutilized and been left out of the conversation. Churches have the potential to step up and make a change, make a difference. Both churches here have done it for their communities, they're continuing, and they've got pastors' hearts where they care about the whole city, not just about the people that come inside the four walls. They want to take care of the people outside their neighborhoods. Then for us, we want to see that the nonprofits, there are many great ideas in here, many great organizations that don't belong to a church, but are very much aligned to improving our communities. Oftentimes, it's easier to do the work as a professional and not use the volunteers because it takes extra time, extra effort, and they're constantly rotating. But if you can see the churches and their ability to scale, the homeless situation is not a big problem for us. It's an opportunity for churches to get engaged in very small ways with neighborhoods, to find one person to connect with. We don't attack and boil the ocean all at one time. We build relationships with people on the street, and the church is filled with people that are willing to put their lives out there and get connected with people in pain. So if you're a nonprofit, make room for churches, make room for volunteers in your program, invite them in, invite them to be a part of it. Love Never Fails has an event down at the baseball stadium called Love the City. I know many of the groups here on December 9th are there, but they're still looking for volunteers to help them run, to create a great youth program or a great experience for kids out there at the baseball park. If you'd like to go to Love Never Fail, not Love Never Fail, sorry, Mobilize Love. And Christian would love to have volunteers out there. Also, whenever they do events, support them. Stop by before you go into the Giants game, before you go into the 49ers, stop by their areas. They do some great work, and this is what kind of keeps their head above water. There's some other things that Tenderloin let us know that this is the season where they are short on men's clothes. So next week, where's my Tenderloin guys? Where's Kent still here? There he is. Back there. Kent would love all the men's clothes that you can throw at him. He would love to collect them. And he's at the Ellis. What is the address for the Ellis room? 357 Ellis Street. If you've got clothes, they're taking them and they've said that they need some help. So if you can get to them next week, if you happen to come to our lunchtime meeting here, bring them here. We'll get them down to the Tenderloin. We want to do that again. So what does CityServe? We're all about empowering the people that want to make a difference. We're all about getting churches involved and making them aware of what they could be doing with the communities in their neighborhoods, and then telling that story not only in the local area, but also outside the area, making a difference, making sure that when we find something like Adrian's, that isn't just about San Francisco, we got to get that right first. But his model should be bigger than San Francisco. It should be California, it should be US, and we need to make politicians aware of how it could be a better model that we can go and pursue. So City Serve's all about finding those crown jewels, those gems, and making sure that we get that story told and out there. Part of this whole effort is making sure that everybody works together and then we get a chance to kind of like understand what's going on. So take this thing, and then when we network, I'll be out here. I would love to collect these things from you, but I want to get one more motion here. I know you got a closed motion for, we got one more speaker?
We have one, we have one more session.
We got one more session. Excellent.
The session I've been promising.
Can you guys give everyone the hand here? I mean, these guys are amazing coming up here.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing.